a little bit of a sell-off there in after hours. Corey.
Okay, sell-off in after-hours revenue of $3.2 billion, non-GAAP earnings of 43 cents a share. So the company's still growing like a weed. Monthly active users up 14% year over year. And I'm just starting to put some of the numbers into my model now. The monthly active user growth, they're up to 1,335,000,000 monthly active users. I'm just going to double-check the number, make sure I've got it right. And the monthly active users at that rate shows just a 1.4% sequential growth rate. So 1.4% compared to 3.2% last quarter. So dramatically slowing user growth from Facebook. Now, big rise in revenues, big rise in free cash flow, big rise in profits. But the addressable market for Facebook, just as we saw with Twitter numbers, the market growth, while it's still growing, slowing down quite a bit. Now, we would expect that. It has been a trend in that direction. But on some level, you'd like it to turn around. You'd like to see them get into China. You'd like to see them get into places that they can on mobile phones that they couldn't on the desktop. And yet user growth, not mobile user growth, but user growth continuing to slow down.
Yeah, we heard from Paul Sweeney earlier. Of course, Corey, you and I were talking with him. He was very worried about this, in part because of what we saw out of Twitter just yesterday afternoon.
Now, again, the big difference here, Facebook's a massively profitable business, and not just profitable on a bottom-line basis, not just profitable in the adjusted earnings per share number of 43 cents. The analysts thought it would be only 40 cents. It's an adjusted number. It takes out stock compensation and so on. But this business is throwing off tons of free cash flow, even after all the massive investments they put into all sorts of things, whether it's buying virtual reality headsets or spending billions of dollars building data farms and helping to create new kinds of servers to dish out, Trish, pictures of your kids to your friends and family faster than your average off-the-rack server can. They're very focused on that, spending a lot of money on that.
It's incredible.
And yet still making money.
Yeah, hey, and that's, you got to be able to, you contrast that, Corey, with something like Amazon, where, again, they're making a lot of investment there in the future. They are making a lot of money, but in terms of profitability, whole different story there.
Yeah, you know, Amazon, I think, is a case unto itself. And when you start to hear people making comparisons to Amazon, they don't resonate anywhere. There is no reference. And of course, it's a disaster for companies trying to plan their finances like Amazon does. Amazon's a supermarket. Amazon's a business that creates cash flow, spends almost all of it below the cash flow line and the cash flow statement on property, plant, and equipment.
It's amazing that some companies can get away with it.
One company.
It is amazing that one company gets away with it, for sure. I also think you have to keep in mind when looking at Facebook versus Twitter, and you're right, there's obviously a similar knee-jerk reaction to subscriber ads here. We looked at that yesterday with Twitter. It was disappointing to the market. Twitter shares tanked. We are looking at it today. It's disappointing to the market. With Facebook, those shares are down a little bit, but Facebook, unlike Twitter, is up it's more than doubled since last June. I mean, this stock has been on an absolute tear, and Twitter doesn't have the same run-up here. So you always hear buy on the rumor, sell on the news. It was one of the first things my first boss at Tucker Anthony said to me back in 1996. That really happens on the street. So anyone who was going into this quarter and thought we were going to see some decent earnings numbers, some decent revenue numbers, which we did, and I mean, look, 864 million daily active users. There's 864 million people that go on Facebook every single day and do something. If that's not impressive,
and the company, to its credit, has been able, Corey, to translate that into real revenue and mobile revenue, which has been critical for them.
What a great... You didn't even know I was about to say, Trish, that 66% of their revenues happen on mobile devices in the last quarter. That's from zero about 2.5 years ago. So they have created one of the largest businesses in the history of the world in the course of 2.5 years on mobile devices from their desktop business. So 2/3 of revenues in the last quarter coming on mobile devices, and that trend up from 59% the previous quarter, up from 0% in the first quarter of 2012. That's just an incredible feat by Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, and their crew.